Hello everyone and welcome once again to The View from the Midwest. It's time for another Bleedin' Blue recap of the NHL Central, so let's get right into it. The Dallas Stars took on the Minnesota Wild in the first round, and although Dallas looked like they were going to sweep things, Minnesota didn't make things easy on them, pushing that series all the way to 6 games, and it really could have gone even further than that. The Wild might have even pulled off an upset. Dallas ended up winning, obviously because of their talent. They deserved to win based on how they played overall. But you also have to take into consideration that Devan Dubnyk didn't play nearly as well in that first round series as he did against St. Louis last year. And that was one of the big reasons why Minnesota couldn't pull off the upset, obviously in addition to Dallas just being so good. Enter the St. Louis Blues now for round 2, and the two teams are squared off at 1 game apiece. The two teams played game 1 on Friday, and the Stars squeaked by 2-1, although they could have been much worse in the scoreline, depending on how you favor each team, obviously. Brian Elliott made 40 saves on 42 shots, and obviously keeping the Stars off the board for a good long time in that one. But then the Stars ended up losing game 2 by the final of 4-3 in overtime. 4 of 7 meetings now in this series have gone into overtime if you include all those regular season games that went to the extra frame. The interesting thing about this series so far is the Stars could easily be up 2-0, but you could still say the same about the St. Louis Blues, despite the fact that we haven't necessarily seen the best from the St. Louis Blues yet. But you could also say the same thing about the Stars, because we haven't seen the best from their top lines. Because right now, Jamie Benn's 1 goal is about it in terms of top-line production from the Dallas Stars. Right now, the Dallas Stars have goals scored by Benn, Janmark, Goligoski, Faksa, and Roussel. So obviously Benn has the goal, but the St. Louis Blues doing a decent job overall in keeping their top lines in check so far. Obviously the St. Louis Blues have things tied up 1-1. One could argue they shouldn't be, but they are tied. The positive for the St. Louis Blues is they have not yet played their best game in either game, and they ended up winning one. You could honestly even say that they could have won both. Now, despite the fact that they played relatively poorly in game 1, they still kept things close, though Dallas could have honestly deserved to win both of those games as well. So this series really hanging on the edge of a knife right now. The Blues' biggest problem outside of their own issues is they're getting outplayed by the Dallas third and fourth liners. Now, that's to take nothing away from Dallas, but right now St. Louis, as I mentioned before, is doing a decent job of holding the Dallas Stars' top lines in check. But for some reason, and give credit to the Dallas third and fourth liners, they're out hustling the Blues, they're out playing the Blues, and right now they are really one of the big reasons why Dallas is playing so well. And you have players like Janmark, Roussel, Eves, Sevier, and they're just really bringing their game to a different level, one that a lot of prognosticators, including myself, didn't necessarily think that you would see. Now, you didn't necessarily think they were going to detract anything from the Dallas Stars, but you didn't necessarily know that they were going to bring the kind of game that we have seen from them so far throughout 2 games. Moving on now. And once again, you can get all the Blues stats and goal scorers on the Bleedin' Blue website. If you're reading this on the article, then obviously you've already seen it. If not, then I do encourage you to go to bleedinblue.com, and this article will be titled NHL Central Weekly Review. The Nashville Predators took on the Anaheim Ducks in the first round and knocked them off in 7 games, essentially costing Bruce Boudreau his job with the Anaheim Ducks, despite the fact that he had won 4 straight division titles. Not getting out of the first round this year and losing another game 7 was enough to cost him his job, but that's out west, so we're not going to go too deeply into that. Staying out west, though, the Nashville Predators just traveled up the road, going from Anaheim to San Jose to begin their second round, and things haven't gone their way to start off the series. The Preds dropped game 1 on Friday by the score of 5-2, though that one was a lot closer than the score would indicate. A couple empty net goals really pushed the scoreline a lot further away than you would have thought, given how close the game was. And the Predators have made a habit of allowing a lot of goals, a glut of goals really, all at once in both games. They led the Sharks 1-0 following 3 goals allowed in the third period in game number 1 for the Sharks, and then they answered in game 1. But ultimately it was too late by that time. And then game 2 was tied by the score of 1-1 in the third period before the Sharks sliced through for 2 goals of their own. Nashville once again got kind of a late goal, a timely goal, sort of, if they hadn't allowed an empty net goal prior to that, because they ended up scoring with about 3 seconds left, 4 seconds left, give or take, but ultimately it ended up being 4-0. Similarly to the St. Louis Blues, Nashville has kept themselves in each game for the most part, and they keep fighting to the bitter end. But whereas the St. Louis Blues have managed to find ways to get the job done, Nashville has not quite yet. They're relying, much like St. Louis again, a lot on their goaltender. Pecorine came up very large in the last game. Wasn't quite as sharp in game 1, but he also didn't face as many shots. So when you allow that many goals in, although 3 isn't all that many considering there were 2 empty net goals, really, but they depend on him so heavily that when he's not coming out with shutouts or only 1 or 2 goals against, then the Predators' offense isn't producing enough to give him a whole lot of help. The Predators' goals so far in this series have come 2 goals for Johansson. Fisher and Ekholm also have done some scoring for Nashville. Looking forward, games 3 and 4 for both series are going to be played on Tuesday and Thursday. The Blues and Stars are going to play on Tuesday at 8:30 Central Time and then 7 o'clock on Thursday. And the games in Nashville all begin at 8 o'clock Central Time for both nights. Potential games 5s for both series will be on Saturday. So that'll do it for your Bleedin' Blue look at the Central Division. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Comment, rate, and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, whether on Facebook, YouTube, wherever. Keep the conversation going. What do you think about everything that's going on? How are you enjoying round 2 so far? Let us know in the comment section. But until the next time, I'll see you then.